nutrition strategy that finally reached the casual fitness enthusiasts after being extensively used by athletes and bodybuilders alike, and it seems like people do in fact find it very useful. So what exactly is it? The concept is fairly simple. On some days you keep your carb intake low, and other days you go balls to the wall with all the carby goodness. Protein and fat intake stay relatively the same each day. The most common cycle ties closely to your training days. On the days you're resting, carb intake is low. On the days you're training, you ramp up your carb to either moderate or heavy intake, respective to moderate or heavy training. So what exactly is the benefit of doing this? On a weight loss diet, you'll typically go months eating at a caloric deficit every single day. The problem with this is that long deficits will ultimately lead to drops in metabolic functions to the point where your initial calorie deficit is now your maintenance and weight loss comes to a halt. Anabolic hormones will drop, catabolic hormones will rise. Fewer calories are burned, muscle tissue is at a risk of wasting away, and although fat loss initially rises, it ultimately diminishes as your metabolism drops. Kind of a crappy position to be in, considering that the reason you've been eating less in the first place is to avoid this exact issue. And that's when carb cycling comes in. By cycling high surplus carb days into your schedule, you can fend off metabolic slowdown caused by a calorie deficit by theoretically resetting the catabolic state of the body with the added carbs and, more importantly, added calories, shifting things into an anabolic state. On top of that, extra carbs mean more glucose and insulin in the bloodstream, providing more energy for your workouts. Extra insulin will also mean higher amino acid intake to the muscle cells, helping you fend off muscle breakdown. And bonus points when you train on the same day, because training will boost muscle protein synthesis, meaning the extra carbs and nutrients will promote muscle growth. And since you will be going back to a low carb state very soon, insulin levels will drop and you prevent storing too much fat. The end result is that on rest days, you're maximizing weight and fat loss with a calorie and carbohydrate deficit. On training days, you're maximizing muscle growth with a calorie and carbohydrate surplus. Although carb cycling sounds like a pretty good strategy, there are a few downfalls. First is the meticulous planning it requires. Each and every day you have to plan your specific carb intake. This isn't the easiest thing to do or adhere to if it's already hard enough to even find time to go to the gym. Furthermore, there's no concrete evidence showing daily carb cycling provides any significant benefits over other nutrition strategies. You might be just fine with a refeed day once or twice a month to normalize the catabolic effects in dieting. So now the big question, should you try carb cycling? And of course, without a shadow of a doubt, the answer is it depends. In my opinion, perhaps 90% of the people considering daily carb cycling really don't need it. Bodybuilders use carb cycling to lean out right before a show and are more prone to the catabolic effects of a long-term deficit due to their fitness level. For the average person, you'll be fine with a balanced diet, taking things slow, and planning breaks from time to time from dieting. And carb cycling only really applies to people trying to burn fats and retain some muscle mass at the same time. Bulkers and gainers should skip cycling altogether. It might actually make your bulking endeavors much more difficult. Ultimately, you have to consider if your goals align with the use of carb cycling to begin with, and consider whether the added work and frustration from painstaking nutrition planning is worth it. For those that also struggle with plateaus or have trouble sticking with your current diet, then giving carb cycling a chance might be worth it. The decision is ultimately up to you. In fact, you can leave your opinion about it in the comments below. Cycle your mouse clicks on the like and share buttons if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to cycle through my future videos. Thanks for watching.